Houston. And they're the ones sponsoring it, hosting it with the Leader Tex campaign. I know many of you might have a lot of questions of what's going on. I know that hopefully in Jesus' name a lot of people are still coming and they get here safe. I do apologize for the lateness. We are waiting for another speaker. However, we're grateful that you are here, and thank you for taking your time out of your day to come here and to help to get some good information. I would like to open it up in prayer if you don't mind. If you can bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you grateful and humble. We ask you, Lord, that you completely put this day together about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and we're going to have another day here released here real soon. Tex Christopher, he's the one who helped put this all together. He's actually running the campaign. I'm going to be handing it over to him in 1 minute. But we are going to have another date, and we need you to go out and invite people. We need you to text people. We need you to call people. If you have social media, share the flyer. Let everybody that you know about the meetings that we're going to have, because this benefits them. It benefits people at your work, and the grocery stores, everybody involved in the community. We would like everybody to reach at least one person, bring one family, so we can get as many people involved to get the right answers. I know for me as a homeowner and the issues that I've been going through, there's a lot of different questions about different elevations and things like that. So, but anyways, we got to have you help us spread the word. You think you guys can do that for us for next time? Yeah. Thank you in advance. Tex Christopher.
All right, thank you guys so much for coming this evening. It's a joy and honor to have you guys. I want to personally say thank you to CT Church for opening y'all's doors and for sharing with your congregation about the campaign and about this town hall meeting. So please give an applause to CT Church for opening their doors. The purpose of the campaign of Help Me Tex is to be able to come out and to inform all the homeowners that are victims due to Hurricane Harvey. And we're here to be the hands and feet of Jesus and to spread the love throughout our city. Now, with that being said, we're here to go ahead and share information with leaders in our community that know a little bit about what needs to take place, some of the things that are happening at a legislative area. So it's important to have a state representative here with you guys tonight. It's important to have a city councilman here with you tonight that can go ahead and share with you about what's going on with the revision of our flood ordinance that we already have. And then we have on the private sector as well that we have two different law firms that's going to be here, which is we have representatives of Woodfield Law Firm as well as a representative from Dick Law Firm as well. And with that being said, we have another person that's here to share, and it's important to go ahead and share with you about the past, so that way we can all learn. So that's what makes a successful town hall. So we have Adrian Garcia that's going to be joining us, and he was over and dealing with the flood when he was a previous city councilman. All right? So that way we just want to bring a very good, successful, the past. Then we have legislative, and then we have those that are currently serving in a position that make ordinances. Does that sound fair enough to everybody?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that way you understand why we have, who we have on the panel tonight. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, because at the end of this, we're going to go ahead and share with you what we can personally do for you. So if you are a person that you have been struggling with your insurance company, we are here to get you personal results. If you are struggling with your FEMA claims and going through the appeals process, we are here to personally ensure that you get personal results. So what makes this town hall meeting from other ones is we are not here to share with you what's coming from Washington, D.C. in 7 to 13 years from now. We're not here to share with you how millions and millions and millions of dollars are on its way, but what does that do for you personally? How's that going to get your home up and running, right? Because that's what you guys care about, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have a a famous joke, and some of the people in the room know the joke, and some don't. But there's a reason why I'm going to chicken throws his shoulders back and says, look there wouldn't be such a thing if it wasn't for me. And the pig looks at him and goes, really? It's merely a contribution on your part, but total commitment on mine. I share this with you because the panel that is here with you tonight, they are committed to you. They're not here to make a contribution. The panel that is here with us tonight, they are serious and not curious about just talking about something to do and bring about the smoke and the mirrors and talk about things that's all smoke and mirrors and pie in the sky. So we're here to get you the results that you're looking for. Tonight is a night of hope and a night of answers. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our first representative, our City Councilman Mike Knox at large. He represents everything from Kingwood down to Clear Lake and everything on the east side and west side in between. Please give it up for your councilman that cares about you, Councilman.
Thank you. I like to think of myself as a mini mayor. I've got all the territory and none of the responsibilities of our mayor. My role in City Council is simply to vote yes or no to the mayor's plans and to assist the citizens of Houston wherever, whenever, and however I can. It is my honor to serve you on your council, and I can tell you that the city is working diligently to try to bring as much money as we can from the federal government through the state down to Houston. And we've expended quite a bit of money currently in our budget on Harvey recovery already. Just an example, we've spent $100 million already in just repairs to city buildings. And a lot of people think, well, that's not important. But it is, because some of those city buildings are water plants, water purification plants, and other buildings and things that we need to provide the services for the citizens of Houston. So they've got to get back a payment to some residents to lift those houses up. The last bit of that money was just spent about 2 months ago for the last hurricane that we did. So it's going to be a long time. We're all in this together. We're going to be working with you. I'm available to you for your issues that you might have with FEMA. I don't work for FEMA. They don't work for me, but sometimes it's helpful if a council member calls on your behalf to check on your issue or your concern. I can tell you that we're expecting lots of money to come, not a lot, because frankly, the last tranche of money that we got was from the federal government in December. It was $89 billion. That's going to be split between California, Texas, Florida, and the islands. That means we're going to get a portion of that $89 billion. We're expecting that the cost of Harvey in Houston is in the neighborhood of $250 billion. That's what we're expecting at the end result is what we're going to need to recover back to where we were. We are taking action now to try to prevent damage in the future. Some of you may be following the Chapter 19 changes that the mayor has proposed regarding floodplains and how we build in floodplains. That's one of the things we're doing that doesn't cost the city any money, but it may end up costing you money, either in purchases that you make or in equity value of your home. Because if you build in these areas, according to the mayor's plan, you may end up having to build up as high as 5 or 6, 7, 8 feet to bring yourself up above the 500-year floodplain. Not for everybody, but for some. So we are weighing those issues. There is an ongoing debate at council. Tomorrow we vote on that. If you'd like to follow it, you can follow it online or on television, the HTV thing. There's going to be a spirited debate on that. There are a number of amendments that we're offering from council to try to modify that plan a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. The city, as a body, is communicating regularly with our good friends at the state, like Representative Briscoe here, to make sure that that money flows each step about how and where and when that money is going to get down to you. Let me just say this. Government does work for you, but it works at the speed of frozen molasses. It moves, but you need a time-lapse photography camera to catch it in action. but we are working for you, and I'll look forward to answering any of your questions that you may have regarding the city's response. Let me just say this. The city of Houston, I don't think there's any city in America that could have prepared for 52 inches of rain in a 4-day period. I think we did a fairly decent job in the early going, rescuing people, but really the people that saved the day were you and your neighbors. Unlike many cities and counties and places in the United States, Houstonians are a special breed. And y'all didn't wait for the city to tell you what to do, you just did it. You helped your neighbor, you got your neighbor out of the house, you got their pets out of the way, you gave them places to stay, and people who needed things got things from magical sources, not all of it from the city. And so we did what we could do, y'all did more than we could do, and that's why we were able to weather the storm as well as we did. That having been said, we have a long road to go. I'm here to work with you on that and for you wherever I can. Thank you.
I'm sure there's not much of a difference if I stand. Pretty sure that's
Me and Briscoe are good friends. That's my brother. So, Councilman, what are some of the things that are being debated right now with Chapter 19? What have you guys been going back and forth since everything was closed earlier last month from the public?
Well, the Harris County decided to do a change in their floodplain ordinance, and they did a 500 plus 2. Well, it's kind of complicated, but essentially the short version is the mayor decided we're going to do a 500 plus 2, which means the 500-year floodplain is going to be the new 100-year floodplain. So right now under Chapter 19, if you own a home in a floodplain and you're in the 100-year floodplain, you have to build that house. The first floor has to be above 1 foot above the 100-year flood mark. That's clearly not sufficient in this kind of a rain. So the mayor's decided that what he wants to try to do is make everybody raise their house to above 2 feet above the 500-year floodplain. And that sounds like a great idea. But the problem with it is that about 31% of the homes in the 100-year floodplain flooded, and about 30% of the homes in the 500-year floodplain flooded, which means 69% of the homes in the 100-year floodplain did not flood, and 70% of the homes in the 500-year floodplain did not flood. In fact, numerically, the largest group of homes that flooded were in anybody's floodplain. So the problem is a problem of flooding in historical flooding neighborhoods. And so there's a controversy right now whether we have a one-size-fits-all sort of approach. And the impact is like this. If you have a home in the 100-year floodplain and you're going to build a new home, or you're going to sell your home to someone else who may want to build a new home, they're going to negotiate the price of your home down to account for the extra cost for them to build the new foundation to raise that home up above the 500-year floodplain. So in effect, local homeowners who don't have to do anything will lose equity in their home. Secondarily, it's going to cause people not to want to purchase in the 100-year floodplain, which is going to further drive the cost of your property down, losing more equity. In the short term, it's not going to affect anybody, but in the longer term, we're going to see these diminishing returns, we think. So, among the debates that are going on right now is, should we actually do this? The other thing is, some houses that are currently in the 500-year floodplain are only inches above the 100-year floodplain, while some of them are feet difference. So it's going to be 2 feet and 6 inches on some houses and 8 feet on other houses. And depends on what your elevation is. So the data that we've been given by the mayor's office and by our public works and engineering is data based on the recovery of debris, on watermarks, on FEMA designated impacted homes. Now, impacted home to FEMA is a garage that flooded and the house didn't. But in our numbers, that counts as a flooded house. So I'm very concerned, and some of my colleagues are very concerned, that we are overreaching. I view regulation from government in much the same way I view use of force for policemen. I was a policeman for many years. And we have an escalating scale of force that we use. We want to use the minimum amount of force to gain the compliance of the person that we're placing in custody or so forth. And the same needs to be true with government when it deals with regulation. We want people to make changes. We want them to be safe. We want their properties not to be damaged. But we have to be careful that we don't exercise a greater degree of force or regulation than we actually should. So this is the debate that's going on in council for the past number of weeks, and it's coming to a head tomorrow on council. So it should be an entertaining, if you like government politics, it's going to be an entertaining show to watch. At the end of the day, we're hoping that there's 3 amendments that we hope to get attached to the ordinance that will cause an automatic rollback, if you will. Instead of going to the 500-year floodplain, we're expecting new maps to be drawn, and those maps may include some areas of the 500-year floodplain that will be the new 100-year floodplain. Some people will drop out of the floodplains altogether, others will be added. And so we've placed, one of our colleagues has placed an amendment on the ordinance that would automatically roll that back, so we wouldn't have to come back and reconsider it. And the reason that's important is, remember, 70% of the houses in the 100-year floodplain didn't flood, and 69% in the 100, and 70% in the. So we're going to regulate 69 and 70% of homes that didn't flood at all, that had no issue, no problem. So my approach is that we need to do a different way of thinking. We probably need to use the data from all the historical floods and find what I call chronic flooding neighborhoods and regulate those. That would apply to the 90,000 homes that were damaged, that were not in the floodplain at all at the same time, but also account for the ones that did flood. Particularly, if your neighborhood's flooded 3 times in the past 10 years, I would call that a chronic flooding neighborhood. And so maybe we should regulate those areas. So far, that conversation hasn't gone anywhere at City Hall. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out. The other thing that we're doing, like I said before, is as far as regulation goes, we are also going to get into Chapter 9, which is our building guidelines for the entire area. And we're going to be looking at ways to improve the building code requirements to make sure that homes are built high enough wherever possible to avoid future flooding. Now that doesn't do anything at all for flood mitigation. In fact, that puts all the burden on the homeowner or the future homeowner to spend the money to bring their house above the flood line. But we are looking at spending money on a 3rd reservoir up in the Waller area. We've got 6 value projects that are already ready to go. We just need the funding for it. We expect that part of that $89 billion will be used on that. We need to be dredging the dams and working on cleaning the silt out of the San Jacinto River, dredging Lake Houston. These kinds of things will allow greater flow and capacity. We also need to be cleaning our bayous, and we're going to be working closely with the county to make sure that we can. In fact, we're already doing a project with the county. We borrowed money from the state, from the water fund, to actually finish the Brace Bayou project. That's the bridges along the Brace Bayou are going to be very helpful in stopping and they're going to raise them up so that they get out of the way of the water instead of it acting as a sort of a dam. So those are all good things that we're doing legislatively and through ordinances at the moment. And there we are. Doesn't seem like enough, I know, but we can only take little bites at the apple at the moment. So there we are.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Appreciate that. If at any time that you guys have a question for any of the speakers, just feel free to step up to the microphone. Does anyone have any questions for the councilman at this time? All right. Yes, ma'am, please.
I thought I'd just break the ice. I didn't bring my tall body, forgive me. First of all, I want to say thank you for being out here for us, panel, and thank you for blessing us with your time and all your efforts and hard work. It does not go unnoticed. Many of us may not recognize a lot of your names, but we do follow the news, and we are aware of the things that are being done here in the city of Houston. And we're blessed to have such hardworking people behind us and doing a great job, which we expected you to do when we voted you in office, some of you. So I want to say thank you for being out here. My question has to do with FEMA, and could you explain why we have to appeal so many times? And is it possible when we appeal, can we submit the same information that we appeal each time, especially since nothing changed?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but we have some lawyers present who can maybe help you with that. But I can tell you that FEMA is notorious for rejecting original claims, and so just keep appealing. Appeal, 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 appeal. One of the things I was able to help a couple here not too long ago with was that immediately after the storm, of course, their house flooded, and they went to stay with their kids. They had some adult children, so they went to their house to stay with their kids. Well, when they applied for FEMA to get housing, they were denied because they had a place to stay. You know, but they didn't really want to, you know, relatives are like fish. After 3 or 4 days, they start to smell, right? So you want the plan isn't to stay with your children. Your plan is to get out, you know, find an apartment, get some routine back, and a place that, you know, you can come and go, have a little privacy. So that appeal we had to do like 4 appeals to get them the housing funding that they needed. So don't stop appealing. Just appeal. Don't accept no for an answer. The federal government, it has to be careful with the money they spend. They want to make sure you really need it. I don't know why they do that, but they do. And so I've been told by FEMA, and I've been told by others that the best way to deal with that is don't get disheartened. Keep appealing, appealing, appealing. Sooner or later, you'll get what you need.
Thank you so much. That did answer my question. Matter of fact, the same situation you're speaking of, that's my situation, you know, as well. Thank you so much.
And be sure to stick to the end, because we're going to have some more answers for you on that now.
I got a question.
Councilman, with the neighborhoods that are going to be zoned for elevation, is there going to be grants or funding for the homeowners? Because obviously you're going to do streets of elevating homes, not just singular homes. So will there be additional funds for the homeowner to do those things?
Well, there's generally no. And when I say that, because the Chapter 19 will not apply to anyone whose house is currently on a slab foundation and isn't going to be what they consider, I forget the name of the term, basically seriously impacted by the storm. So if you've had some damage, but it's not the significant amount of damage required by FEMA to have you mitigate your home prior to them authorizing your money, then you won't. So most people, this ordinance is not going to apply to anybody other than people who are going to build new houses. So if you tear your house down, you're going to have to build your own house with your own money or bank money or whatever. If it's, you won't have to worry about this Chapter 19 issue unless you are going to expand your footprint by more than 1/3 of its current foundation parameters. So if you're going to build 33% more foundation on your house, then you have to, that 33% will have to meet the guidelines. So your new bedroom and bathroom, you know, might be 7 feet in the air while the rest of the house is on the ground. You know, that's, so it's that 33% that will have to apply. Most people aren't really going to have to, it's not going to impact anybody that's on the ground now, unless you're substantially damaged is the term I was looking for. So if you're substantially damaged, FEMA requires before they assist you in giving them their money that you have a plan in place to meet the building requirements. So in that case, a substantially damaged home, there are monies available to assist you in that sort of raising your house. But it's very slow in coming. This money that we just spent a couple of months ago that we just wrapped up with the last hurricane, that was that money there. It's called raising your house up. And it took 10 years for them to get it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a difficult situation to be in. I'm not sure if that answered all your question, but the short answer is nobody in this room, unless you're planning on rebuilding your house, is going to be affected by this at all in the short term. Long term, when you get ready to sell your house, there may be a problem. Because people are going to look at your house and say, well, in order for me to build the house I want, I'm going to have to build this extra foundation and all these requirements and rules. So that's going to be a hard time. You'll have a hard time selling your property, basically.
Good evening, my name is Jerome Pena. I'm president of the Civics Club for Skyscraper Shadow. Honestly, I have not made my job easy. For the last 18 months, it's been complaints about flooding issues, people building new properties, they're building them, of course, like I said, it has to be 2 feet above ground level, and other properties are underneath, so the last time they flooded, everyone that's raised up, of course, they're fine. And everyone that's beneath that, they're getting flooded. Our biggest issue is they just built a new reservoir right here on Monroe. When they built that, they said that everything from Skyscraper Shadow was supposed to flow into that reservoir. It didn't happen. All they did was just build the reservoir, and there's no kind of flow to that reservoir. And when Harvey came, they never reached the top of the banks in that reservoir, but everything settled in our subdivision, like I said. So that's our biggest issue. That's the biggest complaint I'm hearing. Every meeting that there's no kind of drainage at all. And last year in July, y'all supposedly approved $5 million for our subdivision for drainage. 3 days, 4 days after the meeting that y'all said that we're approved for $5 million, we got another message saying that there's no more funds and we were out of luck.
And your question is?
My question is, when is all this supposed to be resolved?
Okay, I'm not familiar with your drainage issue on that new area that's storing water. That sounds to me like it's a Harris County flood control project. Is that right? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay. So Harris County flood control is responsible for all the drainage into and out of the bayous, rivers, and streams in Houston, and in fact in Harris County. So we can't do work on those areas without their permission. So that's going to be a Harris County flood control project. Sounds to me like the drain for that reservoir got over full and wouldn't drain out because the bayous were full. In other words, if the water is coming this way and you're draining into it, the water gets so high, the water can't get out.
But the problem is, it wasn't full, and none of the water was draining. All the water settled in our subdivision, instead of drained out into the reservoir like it was supposed to.
Okay, well, I'm not in a position to do that. Now, the city of Houston is responsible for getting the water from your streets and your homes to either the reservoir or to the drainage ditch.
Correct.
And that's why you had the project approved for $5 million, right?
That is correct.
Then we had a hurricane, and now we have to pay 10% of the value. We've got to pay 10% of the value of the loss. So we have, the mayor has decided to pull back on some of the CIP projects so that we have the cash necessary to spend the money to get reimbursed later. So it's a spend first, get reimbursed. And then we're going to use that reimbursement money to spend some more money. And then ultimately we finally end up getting paid back, and then your CIP project will go forward again. I don't know about that specific project. I know that there's some that we're going to do anyway. I'd have to do some research on that. I'd be happy to do that for you if you'll call my office sometime tomorrow, and we'll look it up for you to see where you're at.
Appreciate it.
Again, I'm going to tell you again, I'm not going to be able to stand up here and tell you what you want to hear, but I will tell you what I know to be the truth based on the information I have available. I know that's not the answer that you want, but that is the answer.
I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and take our next guest speaker. We'll go ahead and start with our state representative, Briscoe Kane.
I'll come back.
What, you have a question? What's up? Because I can go off on a question.
They're just keep on popping. But
So from my understanding, FEMA's, we're gonna be able to release some money. Is the monies that are gonna be coming in, is that for the county and city to fix the infrastructure, or is it gonna be down to the residential homeowners as well?
Well, actually, that money is ultimately going to come to the city in the form, and the county, in the form of CDGB funds. That's federal funds for various projects, and they have different setups for each one of these little funds. So there is a fund available to help homeowners with their actual home repairs. There's another one for infrastructure mitigation. There's several of these different CDB funds and CDBG funds, and they will be distributed when we get them. We'll be able to have a better idea of how we're going to spend those, and because we'll be limited by the amounts in each of those separate funds.
What was your name?
Richard A.
Hey, Richard. So, your question has multiple parts. Okay, so FEMA is a large organization. There's multiple branches of that and where the money's going to go. So I've got some data today. I hope you guys are okay with me reading it. It's brand new, updated data as of March 30th. It's directly from the governor's office today. And so I'm going to try and answer your question in a way of giving you some stats, okay, guys? So this is just for Harris County, right? We were talking, where'd the young lady go that was concerned about FEMA back there? There you are. So there have been 180,000 FEMA approved applicants, okay? So I don't know the number of unapproved applicants, but it's a lot of people. And some of that approval rating is going to be based on who the FEMA agent is. And maybe who the FEMA liaison, depending on the congressman you have, you will find that some places have better responses than others, because they're still humans and have their own flaws. So far, the amount of federal funds in the hands of what we maybe call survivors, tough Texans, is about $5 billion. It's been dispersed so far. We're expecting so far the shared obligation of the federal funds is at $255 million. And by the way, anybody have to stay in hotels? Real quick, who was flooded? All right, is everybody here flooded? Okay. Anybody have to go to hotels? All right. And when did you get out?
I'm still there.
You're still there. Well, you are one of 2,517 households in hotels. We're working on it. What that is, guys, is generally the majority of those people that are still there were renters, right? So they weren't owning their own home. Totally fine, I get it. But those people don't qualify for FEMA. And the owner of those rental properties, they don't qualify for FEMA. Because that FEMA repair money is only for that person's homestead, for that house. And so one of the ways for them to get those things repaired, those rental properties repaired, is by getting an SBA loan. So that's another process we're working on it, but let's hope we can get out of that hotel. Go ahead. No? All right. Yeah. How about people that had maybe the government go in or just only do that first, 4 or 5 feet of sheetrock in the house, right? Some of you guys. Okay, excellent. That was from the disaster assistant repairs. Okay, and the idea there, and I know maybe you would like more, but the idea is to get people back into a livable environment, right? You sheetrock up to a point where y'all are protected from electrical shock, and really the rule is that you get a refrigerator and something to cook with, a microwave.
Like a bed.
That
would be
yes,
nice.
It would.
Yeah.
Again, for the federal regulators and their ultimate wisdom of what Americans need, they determine that you only need 4 or 5 foot and a microwave and a fridge.
And sleep on the floor.
I understand. I sympathize with you.
Love it.
But hope that helps. So that's part of the prep. And so far, there's been, in Harris County alone, 6,201 prep that have been completed. Has yours been completed?
No.
No? Okay. What's the stage?
I have, FEMA was back out today to determine that I needed additional assistance.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. So I'm a member of the state legislature. We love to hate on Congress, but it's fine to hate on us too. All right, I'm a freshman, by the way. I joined the legislature in January of last year. Okay, 8 months before Harvey. However, I'm willing to recognize that leadership requires me to go just take the blame. All right, your government has not done what it could have done.
I personally feel blessed. I know there are others in Gulf Meadows. My daughter took me through there after Harvey, and it looked like a war zone. with the exception of the home standing. From their front door to the street was nothing but debris from inside their homes. They're lucky they did have curbs. Our neighborhood has ditches, some not deep enough, some so deep that you can't even see the person in it trying to weed eat the ditch.
Yes.
Personally, I've tried to get someone to dig my neighbor's ditch deeper so water drains out of mine. It'll drain to a certain point and stop, and then it's up to the sun to dry it out, which it has a foot of water in it. Our neighborhood still has some septic systems, and we know what's in my ditch, along with mosquitoes breeding.
Yes, ma'am. And it's kind of something I was kind of pointing out. Overall, kind of a system failure. It's not a single thing we can point to place the blame on. I can tell y'all that based on conversations with Commissioner Jack Mormon, who's working really hard on this issue, is they are working towards developing more detention ponds and clearing out some of those ditches. That was a really big problem, is that the ditches weren't doing their job in moving the water out and getting into the bay. We're also actually kind of a good one is that originally when the plans were done, like with the Addicts Reservoir, there were supposed to be about 3 other reservoirs that were never built. It finally looks like some of those are going to be done. One's going to be towards Lake Houston that will help do it. And at the moment, we're in negotiations with the federal government. They're willing to build it. And we're now trying to get them to pay the maintenance and operations fees because it's in perpetuity. And whether or not the state can afford that, considering the fact that we give them our money, we don't give them your money, and then they give it back to you. It's pretty tough, so we can maybe fund some of that. That would help, have prevented, especially if you're in the Baytown area or Mont Bellevue where that flooding came through from the river, would have protected from that. I can tell you that the legislature will not reconvene until January 2019. That means that the limited resources the governor is able to do anything with, we won't be able to appropriate any of that funding for other things until then. So the government does move slowly. I don't think it's an excuse. I'm sorry for it. If you want to blame somebody, I'll take the blame. All right, we're working hard on it. I think you guys probably will learn a lot, especially from some of these attorneys, as to what's going on and how y'all can have things fixed. Robert Von Dolan really knows this one. No, not man.
So this is one of our law firms that represents, that work with the Help Me Tex campaign, that we're here to provide a service to you guys for anyone that needs it. So I'd like Robert go ahead and touch on some of the issues that's dealing with the insurance claims, and then we'll go ahead and have Adrian Garcia go ahead and speak to the crowd. So,
Hi, my name is Robert Von Dolan. I'm an attorney. I'm also a former insurance adjuster. I've got insider knowledge on how some of that works. We'll speak very quickly on the subject of insurance and then maybe take some Q&A later. This is Amy Priscala.
Yes. Hi, I'm with the Woodville Law Firm. I think our firms do similar types of cases, except we do the federal lawsuit as well.
Okay, yeah, and we're not getting involved in the federal lawsuit.
Okay.
Basically, we are plaintiff law firms. I don't endorse that I'm not trying to hustle your business to come to my law firm or her law firm, but I am trying to kind of maybe pull some of the mystery away from this so that you're not afraid or discouraged from talking to a law firm about your case if you've got an insurance-related case. As far as dealing directly with FEMA, you're going to have a hard time finding a law firm to go represent you directly to FEMA to deal with your FEMA relief claim. It's just a tough area. We don't do that sort of thing, and I don't know anyone who does. Now, as far as dealing with suing the Army Corps of Engineers, there's plenty of firms out there that do that. The Woodville firm handles suing the Army Corps of Engineers. As far as dealing with the National Flood Insurance Policy, we help with that. We handle some lawsuits. Some of those we guide over to public adjusters. We help with all forms of homeowners insurance for your regular carriers, homeowners, your surplus carriers. and we help with TWIA policies. So a couple of important things you need to know about. There's strict time limits on dealing with these insurance claims. With a homeowner's claim, you basically have 2 years from your date of loss to deal with it before you can, before you lose your rights to file a lawsuit. And don't give up those rights. If you didn't get a claim settlement that doesn't, if your claim settlement just doesn't feel right to you, talk to somebody about it. Every plaintiff insurance firm in the state that deals against insurance companies will give you a free consultation. If they won't, just dial on to the next one. We're happy to do it. We'll evaluate your case. I know the Woodfield Law Firm evaluates cases.
All the time.
Yeah. So with that homeowner's insurance claim, your regular homeowner's claim, you've got 2 years to deal with that before you lose your rights. TWIA, our fine friends at the state legislature, and I got to blame this on a few classes before before the current representative was in place. TWIA, once you get your settlement, you really only have about 60 days to deal with it before you give up your rights. So if any of you are in the wind zone and you have maybe your roof blow off or just some shingle damage, exterior damage, that sort of thing, that's your Texas windstorm policy. You got to pay attention to that. Don't let your friends lose out on dealing with TWIA. Talk to somebody. Call a law firm. Call a public insurance adjuster. Get your TWIA stuff dealt with very quickly because you're going to lose your rights. NFIP for the flood policies. Plan it in your head in case you ever flood again that you've got 60 days from the date of loss to deal with a flood claim before you give up your right to file that claim. But with Harvey, FEMA extended that deadline to 1 year beyond the date of loss, so you've essentially got until August of this year to file an initial NFIP claim. And just because you get an NFIP settlement doesn't mean that it's etched in stone. Yeah, it's the federal government. Even if you bought that flood policy from a State Farm, an Allstate, or Farm Bureau insurance agent, it all goes back to FEMA, the National Flood Insurance Program branch of FEMA. And they'll amend your claim. You can always go back and ask them for more money. They'll analyze it. Now, if you're on your own, your chances are pretty rough against getting more money out of the flood insurance program, but it's possible. If you've got contractors or public adjusters helping you or attorneys helping you, you're probably going to be able to get some more money out of that. One other thing I wanted to hit real quick is the question was asked earlier on raising your house and funds for that. If you have an NFIP policy and you have over 51% damage to your house, there's money available to you to raise your house up to $30,000 is built into the National Flood Insurance policy to deal with that situation. Most people use the money to raise the house up, but that money is also available through if you exercise other options, such as knocking the house down and go build another house or move the house. If I leave you with one thought in general, it's don't worry about calling an insurance attorney to ask questions and find out what's going on. We're here to help you. I know a lot of people are worried about dealing with an attorney. I was for years. I was an insurance adjuster for 15 years. I've been a licensed attorney for 6 years now. And going through the process of now representing policyholders against insurance companies has really shown me the light that so many people are just have a worry about the whole legal process. Call one of us. Let us walk you through it. Thank you.
And now let's go ahead and have Adrian Garcia go ahead and speak to the crowd. And once again, Adrian was a previous city council member, and he's here to go ahead and share with you and take us all the way back from what has been put in place from Hurricane Allison. And then he's also here to listen and validate y'all's concerns this evening. All right, thank you so much, Adrian.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Tex, and thank you all for being here. You know, when I saw the hands go up about the folks who've been flooded, my heart goes out to you. I had roof damage, but in contrast to what some families have gone through, I dare not compare my little roof damage to what many families have gone through with their homes completely devastated, heirlooms lost, memories washed away. It's just a very, very traumatic and very hard-hitting experience. My prayers are go out to you. And Pastor, wherever you may be, Pastor, thank you for opening up the good Lord's house and bringing in the community. Let's give the pastor a round of applause. Tex was kind enough to show me around the community for the different projects and families that he was helping. And a couple of things struck me because, as he mentioned, I served on Houston City Council back in 2004. I started in January of 2004. In 2003, do you remember this young lady named Allison? Okay, so during my campaign to get on to Houston City Council, Tropical Storm Allison came to Houston. And it came up into my district, the district I was looking to represent, had a tremendous impact on many families in my district. And so when I won my election, and Bill White won his election, we were elected at the same time, we had the opportunity to sit down and visit. And so he asked me, he goes, what would be your priorities as a council member, so I know as mayor how to think through our administration? And so we talked through public safety, we talked about historic preservation, we talked about neighborhood protection, but I told us, Mayor, if there's one thing that we need to do is to make flooding and drainage a priority for this administration. He heard me and he created the Flooding and Drainage Committee, of which I was the co-chair to. And I learned an incredible amount about something I knew nothing before. But I realized a couple of things because we had our own sets of disasters, natural disasters, after Tropical Storm Allison. During my time on City Council, we dealt with Katrina, Rita, and Ike. And we had lessons to learn after each one. And our City Council at that time has gone through or went through the same experience that Houston City Council is currently deliberating. That is how to adjust the floodplains. And how you can literally, by the stroke of a pen, render somebody's golden, or not golden goose, but their nest egg. There's people holding property who believe that at some point they'll be able to sell it, and it'll be what they use to retire. But the stroke of that pen can render that property worthless. And it happened when I was on City Council. And I went back and I fought with the mayor and I said, look, we have to be smarter about this. Well, experience has a valuable commodity that you get to learn things. You have other experiences to go back on. And I think that Houston has, number one, learned that we flood, right? And we flood a lot. And we can almost count on flooding every year. And so the concern I have, and I'm here, number one, to listen, because on what Tex introduced me to was the fact that he's an enterprising guy. I really respect his ability to look at something and think about a business opportunity, but he also has a heart. And he realized that there were several things that were moving parallel to each other and sometimes in contrast to each other. He started to hear how contractors had victimized a lot of families in the area. And I hope nobody in here went through that, but God bless you. But Tex was working through that and then realizing that a lot of families, just like the attorney spoke and said there's money for this and there's money for that, Tex started to identify opportunities where you had other pockets of resources that could help your families move forward. The problem that I have with that is that Tex is a citizen just like me, just like you. He's not a government official. He's not an elected official. but he is finding the flaws within our governmental bureaucracy where government should be fixing these things and not waiting for some sharp business guy like Tex to figure it out. Thank God that he's done it, and thank God he's done it with a heart. Other people would figure it out and make a ton of money off of you, and maybe not give you an entire return on your investment, or getting your homes put back together. That's my fundamental concern with that. What I'll close with this, because I'm here to listen and I want to learn more about what the challenges have been. I am asking to serve you in a different capacity. It won't be in this area, it's on the other side of 45, but I will say this, that the thing that I heard most when I was on city council, and I represented a very, very poor community, very poor district, is that FEMA, insurance companies, the state, everybody is, as the council member said, extremely slow to write you a check. And the check that they do write you is nowhere near enough to do what you needed to do. But yet we will flood again. And what happens every year, ladies and gentlemen, is that your property, your land value, your home is reassessed every single year. And I don't know anybody in here, well, let me just say, I want to meet if there's someone in here whose property values have declined over the years. Mine tend to go up. And so, as we look at something that is extremely unique in terms of the damage that it caused, there is an opportunity for the legislature and others to take leadership. And that is to tell the appraisal district in Harris County to slow down when it comes to appraising our land value. And I'm careful to say land value because your taxes, your property taxes, are principally assessed on what your land is valued at, not what your home is valued at. And so in spite of the fact that you have had home damage, your property taxes are appraised on what floods repeatedly year in, year out, and that's your land. And so I think that there's an opportunity to look at a strategic solution while all the engineering catches up with us, the lifting the property, the land, the new homes, folks, that is not going to bring relief to our flooding problems for decades. But what can give families relief is to rethink how we take your property taxes. And when we have a unique disaster like this, then I think it's government's opportunity to use their rainy day funds. City's got one, county's got one, the state's got one. Rather than to take it from your pocket. We have these rainy day funds sitting there, but yet we will assess your property and your land value every year, and we expect you to pay those taxes, don't we? Yeah. And so I think that there is an opportunity to use innovative thinking, out of the box thinking. I used to subscribe, I used to tell my staff, I subscribe to WAI and Pastor Parker, but that stood for Wild Blank Ideas. Because there's no book written for any of this. When I was on city council and we had to evacuate New Orleans, there's no manual for that. But we figured it out. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't perfect, but we figured it out. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to sit down, be creative, and figure out what brings you the greatest relief fastest. And I think that it's number one, how to make sure that we keep value in your pocket, how we get the bureaucracy to respond and fix your homes and give you the resources that can fix your homes, and then make sure that, that number one, we begin to tell developers, tell me that I'm buying a home that floods. Tell me that I'm buying a home that is designed to take the flow, the release from a reservoir. Be transparent with the most important investment any family will make. And I think if we look at those things, those are very basic things. I think when we take a look at that, we will help a lot of families and we'll help our community. Thank you all so much. Tex, thank you for allowing me.
Well, all right. Alba, you go ahead and share with the crowd
Yeah.
about Whitfield Law Firm.
Hey guys, I'm filling in for Jared Whitfield, who's the principal attorney at our firm, so very big shoes to fill, so I'm going to keep my remarks limited. I think Robert covered a lot of the insurance side, so I'll just talk to you a little bit about what our law firm does with respect to Harvey claims. I'm one of 4 associate attorneys in the firm, and it was funny when Briscoe looked over at us and said, I think we have some attorneys here, I think he's being too modest, me and him went to law school together, so he's also in that category, although I don't think he does Harvey stuff anymore. Won't do any Harvey stuff.
Yeah, I charge you to talk to me.
I think one of the things that some people may be unaware of is how many of y'all live near a reservoir? The Barker, either one of those, that anyone? Well, one of the things that Robert alluded to that some people don't know is that there's actually a massive lawsuit against the Army Corps of Engineers for folks who are suing for the decision that was made to allow the reservoir water to essentially flood into people's neighborhoods to keep the water levels down in other areas. So the U.S. Constitution, Fifth Amendment, actually says that the government can't do what constitutes a taking of your property without compensating you. And so our firm and many, many others in town are representing thousands of people who are suing the branch of the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers, for making this decision to take their property without just compensation. So these are, you may have heard on the news, condemnation cases. And so right now we represent, I think we were up to maybe over 100 plaintiffs now, and in this massive lawsuit where there were thousands of people being represented. So if you've heard of I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the term. It's similar to a class action lawsuit. And so if any of you have friends or neighbors that are affected by, or think that maybe my neighborhood was affected by reservoir water, certainly talk to me after this talk, or look up our law firm. It's Whitfield Law Firm. We have a website, whitfieldlawfirm.com, and think about joining the lawsuit or getting more information about it if you'd like. And so, yeah, and I think that as far as the homeowners and the insurance cases, I'll give you guys some of your time back. I know it's been a long evening, but I think Robert covered most of it. That's something else that our firm also would do, is that we would, try to pursue those claims. So that's all I have.
All right. So now, Help Me Tex campaign. What is Help Me Tex campaign all about? The campaign is here to be able to protect you. Protect you from the bad contractors, as Adrian was speaking of. Yeah, there's some contractors out there that real quickly, they come in and they identify how much money do you have today? What have you gotten so far? Bottom line is this, they don't plan, nor did they plan, to go ahead and meet the requirements of your insurance companies and your mortgage companies. So real quickly, they're here to come in and say, hey, did you get $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $80,000? Let me go ahead and do X amount of work for 20, 30, 40 of that. Well, there's a big difference when you rebuild your home versus repairing your home about bringing the value into your home. Help Me Tex campaign, we're here to bring 100% of value of that was lost back into your home. Why? Because real estate is the highest transaction of the land, and real estate is our community. And as our community goes, it all goes. And we are only as strong as the weakest in our community. So the purpose is to be sure that we restore. That's the purpose, to restore. We share with people, if you have 4 feet of flood water to come into your home, we're here to bring 8 feet of love back into your home. Because home is where it is. And that's what we got to protect. And with those that come and they try to take away from your home, they identify what you got and then they take away. Help Me Tex is here to bring. We're here to fight. We're here to work with you. We're here to assist you. When you have insurance companies that give you the runaround, and Vicki, right here, she does such an outstanding job for our campaign, that she's there to fight for you and to work with your insurance companies. When FEMA is saying, hey, appeal, appeal, appeal. when people ask over and over and over for the same information, a second, a third, a fourth time, the homeowners, they get frustrated. Then you start making decisions based out of desperation instead of being inspired. Help Me Text campaign is here to not only protect you from those bad contractors, but to help you navigate you through the waters. The insurance companies, they're protected by their insurance adjusters. Congress, who has the finances, they're protected by Homeland Security, which is FEMA. But who's protecting you? Help Me Text campaign is here to help you. What does that mean? When your insurance companies give you $30, $50, $80, $110,000 and you think that is good, and you have a policy that's $150,000, $250,000, I'm here to tell you it's not. It's not about what anybody says, the insurance companies or anyone. It only matters what your policy says. The Bible says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. We are here to help you, to educate you to where you can make educated decisions. And that is why we want to bring you the expert panel here this evening for those that represent, that are legislators, people that deal with policy, and people from the past and present, and the government side and the private sector. This is what makes a complete town hall right here that we're able to share with you to where we can inform you, to where you can make an informed decision. So we have been able to help several people. We already have over 100 people in queue. We already have 30 houses that are under construction. What does that mean? Well, we have partnered up with contractors that they want to show you what Texas Strong looks like. And so, will you please go ahead and stand. What we have is we have His to Own, and we have LJ Construction Company. We have Joey with Faith Brothers. And all of this is possible through them, because through the contractor, we're able to come in and use the same software program as what is required by FEMA, as well as the insurance companies. So it's only through the contractors that meet the requirements. We use the same exact software program. It's their numbers. So when that adjuster says, oh, I'll go ahead and I'll give you $80,000, we kind of go, it's more like 167. How many people would rather have 167 right into your home versus 80? See, it's a night and day difference. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. It's not what we say, what they say, only what the policy says. FEMA, 8 out of every 10 people have FEMA claims that were one of the 88,000 that was impacted by this flood. The President of the United States of America has set the policies and the procedures for the benefits that are to be extended to you for Storm Texas. So it doesn't matter what anyone says, except what the President of the United States and what his team says. These are the policies and procedures. As Adrian pointed out, I'm not a politician, but I'm in the world of politics, and I create hoops for politicians to jump through, and I jump through the hoops that the politicians have created. It's full of bureaucracy. You have to jump and jump. And I stand before you, I wear a breastplate of righteousness, but it is not shiny. It is dinged up, it is cut up, it looks horrible. I stink, I'm covered in blood and sweat and dirt, but we're out here to fight for you. So I want to share with you, Help Me Text. So we're here to go ahead and provide contractors that you can trust. So if you're out there and you have dealt with Chuck in a truck, and he's here today and gone tomorrow, we're here to prevent that from happening to you or any of your friends, your family members, your co-workers, anyone in the community. With the insurance companies that we have, being representative with Woodville and with the Dick Law Firm. Dick Law Firm, I tell you what, man, this guy's got a tremendous success ratio in our city. You see his commercials at night on television. And when you need someone who's going to fight and win for you in courts, Help Me Text campaign is here to protect you and take you by the hand and say, here you go, this is who you need to team up with. With the Woodville Law Firm, man, we got to restore that lost value into your home. So the #1 result that you get from Help Me Text campaign is we're here to restore that lost value. And how we do it? By taking it through the courts, if we get it from the insurance companies, from FEMA. So just because FEMA says we're only gonna give you 80,000, but if your loss was 210,000, we gotta make up the difference somewhere. If you have insurance and your insurance company says you're only getting this, that does not mean, and it does not identify the amount of loss into your home. Okay? So that's why we're here. You can get more information about us by going to helpmetex.com. And we're here to go ahead and do a second town hall. We need your help. We need your participation. I would like to shoot for the 24th of this month to go ahead and to do another town hall. And we need to go ahead and we need to invite others that would benefit from this greatly. So we need your help and participation. The difference that this has made is we are here to minister to you during your time and your hour of need. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And we, the community leaders, we care about you, and we're here to show you that we do. Now, how many of you guys got a ticket when you came in and you signed up? Go ahead and take those tickets out, raise them up. Here you go. All right. Everybody got a ticket because somebody is going to be the lucky recipients of a Tempur-Pedic queen-size mattress.
Hi, my name is Vicky. I am with the Help We Jump into the winner ticket. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the panel here. Thank you so much for being here. My background is healthcare. I'm in the radiology business. When Tex told me about the campaign, I was like, ooh, I don't know. Is this going to be transparent? Is this going to be politicians involved? I don't know. I have an accent. I don't think I can do this. But I am so proud to say that I have helped over 120 houses, over 120 homeowners. Wow. I am the one who listens to people crying. I am the one who listens to people's problems. I am the one who listens to adjusters jumping on me, claiming, are you an adjuster? What are you fighting with me? I'm like, no, I'm Mexican trying to help some people. So I'm actually a multicultural person, but however, we were on our way here and I was dealing with a mortgage company. Well, they have a check holding for my homeowner, $20,000. It's not much of the money. Well, we're going to give you 25% only. I said, well, how much is 25% out of 20,000? The lady couldn't answer me. I said, it's only $5,000. Do you think I can do some work with $5,000? And she just got upset and she said, well, that's not my problem. That's the protocol of the mortgage company. We have rules and you have to follow them. I said, well, Jenny, would you work for your boss for 3 weeks and then he pay you on the 4th week? Would you do that? She couldn't answer me. And I think by now, all State Farm, most insurance companies are very fed up with me because I've been all over them. And I want to tell you guys that it is not impossible. It is not impossible to speak up. It's not impossible. You don't need to be an adjuster to claim your rights. So I'm telling you from my heart, I'm telling you because I feel for people. I'm a humanitarian, and I'm very happy to be helping all of you that need help. If you need to get to the point of going to attorneys, we help you to get there. But it is hard work. It is a lot of patience involved. And I'm sorry to say, but yes, it is a waiting process. It has been 7 months, almost 8 months, and people are still waiting for their houses to be fixed. It tears me apart, inside and out. I cry with my homeowners. I wake up listening to a new problem, a new claim, a new question, a new question that sometimes I can answer. But we are here to help. We are here to guide you. We are here to pray for you. And we are here to do as much as we can. And it will be a reward for us to help you. So please do invite people for the next meeting here. There's still a lot of thousands of people who needs your help, who needs our help. And these benefits that we are providing to you are free of cost. So tell your friends and family that we are here to help you and bring them with you. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you guys for being here. It's a pleasure having you. And we're gonna pick up the ticket. So.
All right, eyes closed, here we go. Okay, we have ticket number 5489876.
I got it.
Hey! Michael, all right. Okay, Vicki, be sure to confirm. Last one is 876.
876, I got it.
There you go. Congratulations, Michael. All right, Tempur-Pedic queen size mattress. Well, I thank you guys so much for coming out. Please go. Oh, yes, sir. Do you have a question or?
It's been already been answered.
Oh, okay.
Just I will take, but
Okay.
Here.
That's okay, I don't need one. I'm going to keep this to about 3 minutes. I just want to give you all, and thank you to the councilmen, the attorneys, and Sheriff Garcia for being here. My mom over here, Alicia, is a retired school teacher. She's still teaching in retirement age. She's in the Bay Point subdivision right up on Ellington Field. Since September 5th, I have been to FEMA and the SBA centers 47 times. Wow. The first 2 weeks we tried the phone, it was worthless. You don't get anywhere. I do international business in Latin America, South America all the time. I'm gone every month at least 2 weeks. So I flipped the switch, did business like we do in Latin America. 47 times face-to-face meetings in order to get my mom the assistance. All she got from FEMA was $14,000. The cap is $33,000. There's no excuse why she couldn't get any more. From the SBA, we finally got on December 27th, $94,000 for the loan. Now, I don't want her to be in debt for the next 15 to 20 years until she is not working anymore, because that's not what this is supposed to be about. We live in the United States of America. But the ridiculousness, the incompetence of FEMA is absolutely unbelievable. Lack of synchronicity, lack of being able to get the information you need. It was not until February of this year, which was my 42nd visit, and I went to the centers in Webster, Dickinson, Pearland, downtown in the first month after the hurricane, to get the truth of what exactly is the truth from FEMA. And it finally got to that to establish what the opportunities were and the assistance she could get. The incompetence of the inspectors that FEMA hired is absolutely unbelievable. The two examples I'll give you are this, and this will only take me about another 2 minutes to give the example. I am living with my mom at the house because I got over a divorce a 1.5 years ago and I traveled so much, so I moved out of my apartment on the west side. My last name is the same last name as hers. They had us categorized as a couple. This is my mother. It's not my spouse. Okay, that's number one. Secondly, when the inspector came to her house to count the bedrooms, he classified us as a couple because we have the same last name and 3 bedrooms. Where does that come from? When the inspector came to do my losses because I had a separate claim, my insurance, my personal renters covered $10,000. My losses were about $18,000, so there's 8 more to go. They classified my residence as South America. Again, the incompetence of the people, unbelievable. And it wasn't until a supervisor at FEMA at the Webster Center in November said, "Oh, gee, do you live here?" I said, "Yes, here's my license, here's my bills, here's this." And he said, "Oh, you're classified by FEMA as your residence as South America." Where does that come from? And it's just appeal after appeal after appeal. We have put in 6 appeals, and then we've been told in January that no, the appeals have been stopped. Oh, it's not right. Oh, you're still connected with your mom. Oh, it's disconnected. It's that. Just absolute incompetence of the thing. So my question is this. We're good. We've got the help we need for the most part, but she needs to replace her air conditioning. We cannot get an answer out of FEMA where the funds are to be able to assist that. And my question is open-ended to everyone on the panel. Can we get assistance from FEMA for the air conditioner replacement? It was 2.5 feet underwater or not? That's what we need to know.
The answer to your question is when it's 4 inches or above, the answer is yes.
So there's
And we help people do that, and that's what the federal law says. So it's about applying what the law says.
Okay, because we have it been appealed with FEMA. It said there are 90 days. We're already into about 40 days of it now. So
Yes.
do we just wait, or what do we do? And I asked for your...
Well, you go ahead and wait the 90 days, but go ahead and get with Vicki, and we have helped several people. Go ahead and do that. And this is where we come in and we educate you. Immediately, we ask the number one question is how much water did you get? So when people say, oh, we're only going to replace your lower cabinets, we go, we're replacing your uppers and your lowers. When that AC unit's been 4 inches or above and the integrity has been compromised, the manufacturer says at 5, but the federal law says at 4. So it's about either you're being told or you're telling. And the people on this panel will tell you, Tex is a teller. So I love to tell. So that's exactly what we do on your behalf. And that's one of the many, many, many examples and why we need you to share with those that need our help. And just get with Vicki and we'll have the answers and the other ones that you seek. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Thank you. We'll see you the next go round. God bless you. God bless you.